Okay, so after you remove all the screws on the bottom, now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to remove your fan, because your fan's going to hold this piece in right here. And that's actually 2 Phillips heads. So I'm going to grab my knife that has a Phillips head on it. Pop that out. And I'm just going to go ahead and down in these holes, there's 2 Phillips, and it's just this top fan that you're going to go ahead and remove. Like that. So that one's loose. This one off. It's kind of a crappy Phillips head, but it's okay. Careful not to leave any screws behind, because that can also cause a direct short. And then once you get the fan out, you can kind of set the fan aside, and it'll just set over here. Just be careful. And then you're gonna pick this plastic piece up, and there's connectors underneath the plastic piece right here. See the 3 connectors? And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna pull those off to disconnect this plastic piece. And you can pull those 2 off to disconnect the plastic piece, and then you can disconnect the fan also. Like that. And then the fan's out of the way. Now I'll leave this one on here because it matters which one this goes on here, so I'll leave this one on here just to remember. You can mark it with a pen or whatever. But now all you do to get the motherboard out of the metal piece is lift up on the front side, like so, and this will just slide right out. And that is how you disassemble the Xbox and look for direct shorts. Now, the motherboard. If you're doing an X-clamp mod, you have to be very careful when you remove the X-clamp piece, which I don't have mine still. You have to be very careful when you remove this X-clamp piece, because if you're not, you can, because typically you use pliers, you can damage any one of these under here, and that will result in no power to the motherboard also. So if you've done a direct motherboard, or if you've done an X-clamp mod on your motherboard, you want to look at all of these meticulously and make sure. I've seen a lot of people that bring me their Xbox that try to do the mod themselves, and they've damaged one of these. Now these are replaceable. I have resoldered the bigger ones on, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's very sketchy. So I would check all of these, make sure all of these are intact, make sure your motherboard doesn't look burnt anywhere. And there's plenty of videos on YouTube on how to do the X-clamp mod. Not too many for the Slim, but it's pretty much the same way you do it for the Slim and for the regular Xbox. So this is the new Xbox motherboard. You can actually remove this chip right here too. It's just a chip that has a connector right there. Just make sure you don't forget to put any of this stuff back in, and I'm probably going to make a second video on how to reassemble the motherboard. So there you go. Check all of these USB ports, make sure none of them are connecting. Make sure you haven't damaged any of your hardware on your motherboard from removing your X-clamp or heating it up too much or anything of that matter. Check your ribbon cable, check your ROL chip, make sure you don't have a direct short on there. The best way you could do that is if you had another one, plug that one in, see if it works. If not, just order a new one. They're not that expensive. I think they're like 20 bucks for ROL chip with the blue LEDs in it. And yeah, I'm going to put this Xbox back together, and I'm probably going to make a video on how to do that. So okay, so after you do your X-clamp mod and you're going, oh crap, look at all these parts, I need to put my Xbox back together. It's actually pretty easy to go back together if you were paying attention when you took it apart. If not, that's what this video is going to be for. And plus, we just did a video on how to check for a direct short on your motherboard because of the USBs, the ROL chip, or the X-clamp mod damaging hardware and so forth. So the first thing, you're going to want to reverse the process pretty much and put everything back where you got it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back. So you take these connectors right here. This is kind of a tricky part. You run them back over to where you disconnected them from. There's 3 connectors right here. Connect them. Reconnect them back up. they don't really fit, you know, one connector doesn't fit somewhere where it's not supposed to, so you can't really mix the connectors up except for over here, which I'll show you how to do that. So when you take your Xbox apart, there's going to be a sticky part that sticks this down. You're going to have to remove that, and I don't worry about it. I just keep it loose. It's not a big deal. So now that you have this black piece set back in, but it's still loose, you're going to install your fan. So we're going to set our fan back where, you know, generally where it goes. We're going to lift this piece back up and sneak the connector back under here for the fan. Set this piece back down again. Sorry about that. Set the fan on there, and then we're going to put our fan screws in. So, here we go. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set this black piece back down on there. Okay, so just set that down on there like that. Okay, now we have everything back on there that we did before, and what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to install this gold screw back in the back, because there was one screw back here. Just fingers and start that. Switch that around. This is going into plastic, so it doesn't have to be very tight. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install all of our gray or gold screws that we took out. Okay, go back and just torque them down. Okay. Now that that's done, you can flip it back over. And like I said before, I didn't unplug this one right here, so I remembered which port, because you can actually mix these two up right here. But this one goes over the top, the farthest one. This one goes underneath, right there. That attaches to your disk drive. You take your disk drive, set this back down in here. Just kind of look at the back. It's kind of tight squeeze, but you can do it. Plug that back into there, into there, and that's what you should ultimately look. Okay, now I installed my hard drive. You don't have to do that yet. You can do that later. Like I said, I like to do it now because of the original Xbox. It's hard drive. It's kind of harder to do. Now what you can do is you install the ROL chip. So you just gotta be kind of patient with this. Sometimes you have to push the motherboard down a little bit just to slide that in. Now what we're gonna do is install the screws again. Those tiny screws that you don't want to lose. I laid a towel down on my table because my table is darker and I don't want to lose any of the screws. Careful, these don't need to be torqued down super tight either at all. Just a little bump on there. Okay, now we're going to install the top piece. All you do is pop this piece on. You just set it on there, line it up, and it just snaps right on. Then we're going to grab this top piece. I'd recommend blowing all the dirt off of here and blowing all of it out of your Xbox while you're in there. You can buy a can of dust off at like Home Depot or Staples or whatever. So now all we're going to do is we're just going to set our top piece on here. Like that. Flip it over. Should be pretty, should just set right on there. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is install all of our long screws, and that just holds the top piece on. Now what you do is you install your front faceplate, and on your ROL chip, this should still be out. If it's not, pull this little plastic piece out like that. Do the same thing. I hold it with this hand, set these down, set that down like that, push it forward, and then just push this forward and push that blue strap back around it. Then just look down the top, kind of slide your faceplate back into place. All those tabs should re-click in. Check to make sure you're not forgetting anything, which I kind of am. Don't forget your wireless chip. That's going to go on after we get this piece on. Make sure you're not forgetting anything. The screw goes with a wireless chip, because if you do, it's kind of a bummer. For this, all I'm going to do is slide this piece on. Up here like that. Kind of clicks into place with those tabs. And this should just click together. Like that. Okay, now we're going to install our wireless chip. Okay, now that you have the whole thing reassembled pretty much, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to put the end pieces back on. So let's take a look here, because I always forget which one goes on where. Let's start with the hard drive side. Take this. Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's a pretty big gap for the hard drive. So all you do is you get it lined up to where you think it is. You just set it on there. You just push down like that. And it'll click all the way around. You're good on that side. You know that the hard drive side has that quick release, because that's how you get to your hard drive. So let's just go ahead and we'll pop this on. Like that. Take this, set it on there like that. It's on there. Flip it over. Go ahead, take my tape off. And then, oh, sorry. Take this piece, set it on there. These dots, or these single, will go to the front, and that's that same hole that I talked about that you can hurt your cable through. So we'll do that, line that up. So let's say you take apart your Xbox, quite a bit to do mods and whatnot, and you don't want to have to really think about, okay, which hole has the cable in it and whatever. What I did was I took a piece of tape, and all I did was I simply put the piece of tape over that one hole, so that way it reminds you that, okay, that's the hole that if I stick this hole right here, if I stick the screwdriver in there, I can damage my ribbon cable. So that's the hole that I put the tape over, just to kind of remind myself. Something just easy you can do. These line up. See, there's one prong there, obviously goes towards the front with the one hole. Just go ahead and snap all that back on like that. Make sure everything looks right. Power button, turn it on. Eject button works. Okay, so it's sat that it works on this one. I got the Xbox screen. Like I said, it's been a while since I used this Xbox, so it's going to take a while to boot up. There's my gamer tag, XYLOL Racing. It works. That button works. Eject. And power. That's the end of this video. I hope I answered some questions with you guys on what could cause the power